If you just got hearing aids and something feels off, like everything sounds too loud, your own voice sounds strange, or conversations still just aren't as clear as you expected, you might be wondering, did I make the wrong decision? And this is the point a lot of people start to lose confidence or even stop wearing their hearing aids altogether. But in most cases, nothing is actually wrong at all. This is exactly what the first 30 days are supposed to feel like. And if you understand what's happening during the first month, you're much more likely to get through this adjustment period and actually get the benefit you expected in the first place. One of the biggest reasons people struggle in the first few weeks is not because something is wrong with the hearing aids. It's because their expectations don't match the process. A lot of people expect hearing aids to work like glasses. You put them on and everything becomes instantly clear. But hearing doesn't work that way, because hearing is not just about the ears, it's about how your brain processes sound. And when your brain hasn't been getting clear sound for a long time, it needs time to readjust. So if your expectation is, this should feel normal right away, the first few days can feel disappointing, but if your expectation is, this is a process my brain has to go through, then what you're experiencing starts to make a lot more sense. The first few days. The first few days with hearing aids are usually the biggest adjustment. For many people, the first reaction is, everything sounds loud. And that happens because your brain has been living in a quieter world. If you've had hearing loss for years, your brain gradually adapts to reduced sound input. So when hearing aids suddenly restore access to those sounds again, your brain can initially interpret them as overwhelming. Common things people notice during the first few days include paper rustling sounding very loud, footsteps being more noticeable, dishes clanking in the kitchen, or environmental sounds you may not have heard clearly in years. And this is where people start to worry. It feels like something is wrong, like the hearing aids are too loud. But what's actually happening is your brain is relearning normal sound. And within a couple of weeks, this usually settles down. Your voice may sound different. Some people describe it as hollow, echo-like, or simply different. And this is another moment where people think something is wrong. Part of your voice comes through the air, and part of it comes through vibration in your head. When hearing aids are introduced, that balance can temporarily feel different. Your brain usually adjusts to this quickly. But if your voice continues to sound unnatural after the first week or two, it's something your audiologist can often improve with adjustments. Speech may still take effort. This is the part that frustrates people the most. One thing many people expect is that hearing aids will instantly make speech perfectly clear. Because hearing is not the same as understanding. If hearing loss has been present for a long time, the brain's speech processing system may need time to readapt. That's why many people notice that while sounds are clearer, understanding speech in difficult environments, like restaurants or group conversations, can still take practice. And this is often where people start to second-guess their decision. They think, I thought this was supposed to fix my hearing. But what's actually happening is this. You're hearing more sound, but your brain is still catching up in how it processes that sound. And that gap between hearing and understanding is what takes time to close. This is also why some people say, I can hear everything, but I still don't understand people clearly. That's not a failure of the hearing aids. That's part of the adjustment process. Over time, your brain relearns. This is why consistent daily use is so important. The more your brain is exposed to amplified sound, the faster it can adapt. Weeks 2 through 4. For most people, the biggest improvements happen between week 2 and week 4. This is when things start to feel more natural. Common changes people notice during this stage include sounds becoming more natural, less awareness of background noise, improved speech clarity, and wearing the hearing aids feeling more automatic. At this point, many people also begin realizing how much they had been missing before. They may notice birds outside, subtle environmental sounds, or conversations that used to be difficult becoming easier. This stage is often when hearing aids start to feel like a normal part of everyday life. Most people don't expect this part. They think hearing aids are going to fix hearing, but what they're actually doing is reintroducing your brain to a world it slowly forgot. And that process takes time. Here's something most people don't expect. The goal of the first month is not perfection, it's progress. And that's a big mindset shift. Because if you expect everything to sound perfect right away, you're going to feel like something is wrong. But if you start noticing things getting slightly easier, sounds becoming more familiar, conversations requiring a little less effort, that's a sign your brain is adapting. And those small improvements add up quickly over time. Why follow-up appointments matter. Another important part of the first month with hearing aids is fine-tuning adjustments. Your hearing aids are programmed based on your hearing test and best practices. But everyone's listening preferences and environments are different, so follow-up appointments allow your audiologist to make small adjustments based on your real-world experience. Common adjustments might include improving speech clarity, reducing background noise, adjusting comfort levels, or fine-tuning sound balance. And these small changes make a big difference. And this is where what you do day to day really starts to matter, because your brain only adapts to what it experiences consistently. If sound input is inconsistent, adaptation is inconsistent, and that's what leads people to feel like they're not making progress. The biggest mistake new users make, one of the biggest mistakes new hearing aid users make is not wearing them consistently. Because the brain adapts through exposure, wearing hearing aids only occasionally slows the adjustment process. It's like starting an exercise routine. If you only do it once in a while, progress will be much slower. But consistent use is what retrains your brain faster. When something isn't normal, not everything should be ignored. While many adjustment experiences are normal, there are a few signs that you should talk to your audiologist. For example, persistent discomfort, feedback, or whistling, hearing aids sounding extremely loud even after several days, speech becoming harder rather than easier. This doesn't mean something is wrong, but it does mean something may need adjusting, and that's exactly what follow-up visits are for. Here's the most important thing to understand. The first month with hearing aids is not the final result. It's the adjustment phase. And what you're experiencing during this time is your brain relearning how to process sound. So if things feel a little unnatural at first, that does not mean the hearing aids are not working. It usually means the process is working. But how that process goes depends on what you do next. Consistent use, follow-up adjustments, and giving your brain time to adapt are what determine whether hearing aids will become something you can rely on or something you stop wearing. And one thing to keep in mind, many trial periods are around 30 days, but that does not mean you should keep hearing aids that don't feel right. If you're still struggling near the end of your trial period and not seeing meaningful improvement, it's completely reasonable to return the hearing aids or ask for additional adjustments and request a trial extension so that you have enough time to properly evaluate them.